Right, guys, I hope you can see me and hear me as well. A very good morning. A very good morning to one and all. Uh, so yes, we are here today to discuss uh, the networking industry in general. Right, you all are aspiring students, and let's understand a bit about the networking industry. By the way, I am Sohail, and I'm a senior technical trainer and I'm working with PyNet Labs. Right. I have been looking into training very much an audience like you for a very long time with CCNA. That's certification. You also have. I also do certifications with CCNP Core. That's again a certification, but at a higher level. And then I also look into certifications with CCNP and RC. And I also look into things with CCNP security. So that's security level certifications where train people for that. All right. So where are we from? So like we are PyNet Labs, right? And we are a globally trusted instructor based live training company, right? Meaning we train an audience like you, all right, for various networking roles. Okay, so be it network engineers or network security or automation. Network automation, of course, is the new happening thing, as you might probably know. Automation is like the new key to literally everything, and so is, of course, the networking industry as well, right? You also have, of course, cybersecurity and cloud stuff going on. So we provide, trainings for all of these, like courses, live training, right? Online trainings for all these things, and of course, or even like on site. So, what are we here for, right? So, what are we here for is to understand the networking industry in general, right? What we are here for is we are in the networking uh, like industry, right? And what we want to understand is why is this important? Okay, I mean, like why is the networking industry even important, and why are we, looking to pursue the networking industry in general? Okay, and what is this industry all about? Okay, so why is it important? What is it in all? I mean, like, what is the networking industry all about? And how are you going to be a part of it? Okay, so if you decide to join the industry, and why should you be a part of it? Okay, that is what the entire concern is, and what that is what we'll be looking into for the day. Okay, so let's focus on this one by one. So why is the networking industry important, right? I, of course, am not wrong when I say that the networking industry, okay, or the networking like domain is the backbone of the world, right? Today, the world is based on interconnectivity, right? Everything is connected to everything else, and you are connected to your friends and your organizations that you use for various stuff, right? So, for example, obviously, for example, like right now we are communicating, right? Communication, of course, is a very, very crucial part of our lives now, right? For example, the thing that we are doing right now on is, of course, Zoom, right? You could, you know, uh, be communicating on some apps like WhatsApp or maybe Instagram, or maybe you use some other apps for meetings and stuff, right? Maybe like Meet or maybe Microsoft Teams, or you communicate in general over Facebook. Okay, whatever the thing is, okay, whichever application you use, all of this is enabled, I hope you understand, at the end of the day by networking, right? All of this works on the internet as it is. Uh, so yeah, these are of course apps, but then what do they use at the end? Okay, like what makes all of this possible? Of course, everything. is connected to the internet, the network of networks, and that is how you are able to use these things, right? Every one of us has used these apps, right? And this is not just restricted to communication, of course. Whether you want to travel, right, or you probably might use something like Ola or Uber. Okay, maybe you want to stream something, you have YouTube, or maybe for your entertainment it's either maybe Amazon Prime or Netflix, or maybe you want to shop. Okay, so it's maybe Amazon or Flipkart, or maybe you want to order food. Okay, so everything, as you know, of course. And I mean, of course, nobody is new to this. It's something that we have all used. We are all accustomed to this nowadays. In fact, all of this is the default way you work with your lives, right? This is how the digitization of things has worked out with us. So yes, you have all these apps. Again, same story. The apps are one thing, but what makes this work, right? So, for example, God forbid, but let's say tomorrow the internet stops working for some reason, or it blacks out for some reason. Okay, like I said, God forbid, but then uh, yeah, I mean, like nothing works, right? All of this is simply then not useful because they are just apps. They don't work unless the underlying network is working. So networking, of course, is the thing that makes things work, right? So yes, you have the networking as a very crucial part of the connectivity, in fact, right? Um, so yes, I mean that's not it, right? So when I say, when I list these apps here, for example, the Zoom, Instagram, and like Facebook and WhatsApp and Netflix and everything else, it seems as if we have reached some peak, right? That's a misconception. That's a misconception that we are at the peak of technology. No, it isn't so, right? Then that was always the case. It was so earlier, when it started from mainframe, and then you had telex and frame, and then like, we have PCs. Nobody thought that the smartphone would become such a dominant thing, but here we are, right? We have uh, I mean, like it was in you guys are still younger. Okay. In my case, I mean, I saw phones coming in which were very large, right? And they had no internet or capacities like what we have right now. But here we are, right? We have smartphones which are like mini computers sitting in our hands, and the rest of the world is like in it. uh, and gradually, I mean, we just started with smartphones, and now we have things on the cloud, right? Everything is on the cloud, and you have your emails now on the cloud, and you have your photos on the cloud, and you have your music. Nobody so in like in my day, back in the day, I mean, we used to store music on our hard drives, right? That is how you I mean uh, you could not simply stream music, or like that was not even a possibility. Why? Because the underlying network was very poor. Nowadays you have your music, and nobody like stores videos or music on your devices, right? Of course they are on the cloud. So that's what I'm saying. So it is going to go on increasing. Now you have you're going to have IoT, which is Internet of Things, right? So Internet of Things basically is everything being on the internet. Okay, so maybe your home devices, your like maybe even your refrigerator, and maybe like your ceiling fan and your lights, and everything is basically is going to be connected to the internet at large. Right now that is not the case, but yeah, I mean, like it is gonna become the case with these things. Literally your car and like everything that you can imagine of would be connected to the internet, and that is called as Internet of Things. And of course all of this probably will be enabled with 5G. And it does not stop there. I mean, you have AI and robotics, and still, I mean, the augmented reality and virtual reality is not that much of a part of our thing. uh, but yeah, it's gonna be right sooner or later. Probably your workspaces would be like in VR, AR. We don't know, right? That is yet to come. So, I mean, I'm just saying that it's not the peak of our technology that we have reached. In fact, we have a lot, to see. I mean, technology is ever evolving, and all of this, of course, has to be supplemented by an increase in networking. right? All of this will never work if you don't have networking in the back end. Hence, again, underlying the importance that network is what makes things work, right? If the networks do not work, all of this simply would not work, right? So yes, that is how the network is such an important thing. So yeah, so since we are discussing and we now know in a way, like what networking, how important networking is. So let's understand what essentially is networking. Okay, like the concept of it. Okay, let's understand what this is all about, and let's understand what makes these things happen. See, essentially, networking is, bunch of devices, or maybe like these are your laptops, or maybe it could be your desktops, or maybe even you could have smartphones and, like tablets and all those things. And these are, then connected together. Okay. And you connect them together probably for something. Okay. There can, of course, be various uses as we saw earlier, right? And in the earlier slides, we saw you could use it maybe for shopping, maybe you could use it for entertainment, maybe you could use it for data transfer, endless things. So all of these devices that are connected together, they form a network, right? That's as simple as a definition that can be. Multiple devices that are connected together to perform some kind of an action, uh, some application, some usage, and that is what networking is all about. Now, networking certainly is built with certain uh, devices. Okay, that is the entire like scope of that is what networking is. Okay, you basically work with some things called as network devices, right? So and there are many, I mean, not even limited to what you see on the screen right now. They are like so many, and you can like do so many things with it. And there's an endless list of networking devices. But yeah, let's discuss some basic stuff. Okay, so modem is kind of not really. Uh, I mean, even if it is like an inbuilt thing right now, which you don't have it as a separate device. But yes, I mean, modem is a device which actually converts, digital signals to your analog signals. So back in the day, when everything was transferred over phone lines, okay, like earlier, what happened was, you already had phone lines, okay, but you did not have internet like to be supplied over it. So what had to be done was, since your computers, okay, they use digital signals, and you had phone lines, okay, which of course transfers, analog signals. So there had to be some converting device, okay, in the middle that converts digital signals to analog, and on the receiving side back again from analog to digital. So this is that device, modem. Essentially, it is modulator, demodulator, right? A modem is it's a conjoined word of two things, which is modulator and demodulator, which simply means that it is gonna convert signals from digital to analog, and to analog from digital. Now, all of the connectivity that we have in our devices is enabled through something called as the NIC, or the network interface card. So network interface card essentially is it's like a circuit board as you see on the screen. Okay, this thing that you have in devices nowadays. Of course, you don't have to uh, you know uh, purchase a separate NIC. It's already there. You don't have to like buy a separate NIC. It's already there in your devices. But this NIC, network interface card, is what helps you connect with your network. So it is the NIC which of course serves as a connectivity thing in your network, right? So even your smartphones, for example, have a NIC in it. Your tablets would have a NIC in it, your laptops would have a NIC in it, whatever the device, doesn't matter. The network interface card is the thing that enables network connectivity. Now, NIC, as you see on the screen, this is like a wired NIC, and this is where you will plug in that cable and the connector. But it could be various things. Okay, for example, of course, this is not the NIC that you will have in your phones, right? Your phone, of course, has an NIC that helps, connect it wirelessly. So that's a different NIC, but the NIC dictates how are you going to connect to your like network. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like in short, one single line thing, every device have to have an NIC so that it can be connected to the network. All right, as simple as that. This you see is a repeater. Okay, now what's a repeater? A repeater essentially is a device that will repeat signals. Okay, as the name suggests. Okay, this is a repeater. Repeater simply is something that repeats the signal. Now, why do you want to repeat the signal? Now, sometimes, so what happens is, let's say you have two devices connected. Let's make it very simple for you to understand. Let's say you have a device A and you have a device B. Okay, and you will essentially connect them together. But of course, you are limited by the length of the distance between them. Okay, why? Because you will be connecting it through some cable, or maybe it could be wireless. Doesn't matter. But then whenever you send signals, they are sent with a certain voltage, a certain power, right? And this goes on dropping because of something called as attenuation. Okay, so attenuation essentially is the degrading of signal as it goes on, right? And this is because of a resistance uh, of the cable or of the media, whatever that is. Now, what happens is on the other side, if the signal goes on, reducing in power, in voltage, the other side, of course, will not be able to, like understand the signal. Hence, of course, they will not be able to and like receive the signal at the end. Okay, then how do you solve this problem? You can solve this problem by having a repeater, right? So what you can do is you can like plug in a repeater. Okay, you can plug in a repeater like in some place where you receive enough signals, and what it is going to do is it is going to boost back the signal and send it forward. Now, essentially, the repeater, therefore, as you can see, is simply like a booster. Okay, like it boosts signals, and you can have this for Wi-Fi, you can have this for wired signals, and the repeater is used, to extend the network length. Okay, or the segment length, as it is essentially called. So yeah, the repeater is of course necessary. You would want to do it because different media have the media, meaning like the cable type or even wired things have their own segment length, predetermined segment length. For example, the LAN cable that probably you must have seen, just as an example, just saying, okay, that has 100 meters of segment length, meaning beyond 100 meters, you cannot just extend the cable and, go on using it endlessly. No, that is not the case. You cannot do that. If you're using the LAN cable, what you have to do is every 100 meters, you have to have something like a repeater or maybe a device, that will boost the signal. Okay, but that's, yeah, that's something that will boost the signal. Other than this, there is the hub. Hub is I mean, you will not see it nowadays in like all the new networks and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a device. It's still a device, and that is what it is. So basically, the hub is a centralized networking component. Okay, so let's say this is the hub, and it will have some ports, as you can see in the diagram as well. And what you can do is you can simply connect your end devices to the hub. Now, of course, that is what it does. And yeah, I mean, like it's a device that is used for centralized to be used as a centralized networking component, so that you can manage the network a little better. But the hub has its own disadvantages, meaning the hub is essentially something that will always broadcast signals. Okay, meaning whenever somebody is talking on the hub, okay, whether you want to send it to a particular device or not, all it can do is simply broadcast. That is because of how the hub basically like works. Okay, we will not go into too many details considering the short nature of our class for the day, but for now, just understand that the hub is simply incapable of doing something called as unicasting. Okay, meaning it essentially cannot do a one-to-one communication. Meaning, if I wanted to send something from device A to device D, that essentially cannot be done. Okay, it seems as if this is done because when you send messages, you mark it with the recipient, and all the receiving parties who are not the actual recipient will end up discarding the message. Okay, only the device that was the actual recipient will end up accepting the message. So it seems as if, you are like doing a unicast, but that is not what the hub can do. The hub essentially, like, the main problem with this device is that it can only broadcast. Okay, and that's a huge problem. This makes it largely inefficient. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like, we are not so you will not find this in enterprise networks, and wherever like performance and stuff is of crucial importance. You will simply not find the hub there. Okay, so like hub is not really used as of now, but like you can, I mean, like, it's still a possibility, although it has the working of it is quite inefficient. Okay, so like, what do you do when you need something like a hub, but then something that does not have its disadvantages? Okay, so what you can do is you can use a switch. Okay, so switch is a networking device, by the way, similar to a hub, in terms of the look and feel, but the working is very different. Okay, so while the hub is like a dumb device, okay, so like you call the hub as a dumb device, and why do you call it dumb? Because like I said, it's like it can only do broadcast, and it does not really understand like who's connected to what port of mine. Okay, the hub cannot do that. The switch, however, is sort of different. Okay, so let's say this is a switch, and as you can see, the switch and the hub, like, they look the same kind of. They kind of look the same, and yeah, that is what it is. Like, most devices, like networking devices, will look the same. Okay, for example, if you were to look at the hub and then the switch, and you even look at the gateway, for example, so they look the same, but yeah, I mean, like, the functionality is different, right? So never go in networking, like, you don't go by the look of the device. You have to know what they are. Just by looking at it, you possibly will not be able to tell that this is a like certain device. That is not the right thing to do. Okay, let's move back to our switch, right? The switch essentially is a device which again serves as a centralized networking component. Again, what you can do is, like, you have the switch, and you can easily connect your devices together. Let's say I have a bunch of devices. Of course, like, this is a diagram, hence just three devices, but you can imagine, like, you have the entire office connected to a switch, maybe like 20, 30 devices, 40 devices, maybe, all connected to a centralized switch. And from the switch, then you would have, connect yourself to a gateway, or maybe a router that takes you to the internet. Okay, that is how, like, things work. Anyway, we'll discuss the like the office thing a little later. But yeah, the switch, essentially, as you can see, you have a centralized component, and you have the connected devices, like, to the switch. Now, how is the switch different? Okay, like, how is the switch compared to the hub? Like, how does it work better? The thing is that it works better in the sense that the switch is a smart device. Okay, like, it's a smart device, and like, how smart and why smart? So smart in the sense, it has a table inside. Okay, like, in its memory, it has a table where it stores, like, as who is connected to what device. Okay, and of course, it does so using something called as a MAC address. Okay, MAC address is like a physical address of the device that is assigned to the NIC card. But you have different ports, let's say, and to the ports, it understands which all devices are connected. So essentially, what the switch can do is it can unicast. Okay, so basically, like, it can. So if you want to send, like, let's say you have a device A and you want to send something to device B, essentially it can do that. Okay, it can do that, and it can do this much more efficiently than a hub. So that's what a hub is. Okay, and that's what a switch is. Sorry, right? So yeah, like, these are two very important devices in your network. Other than that, of course, you have the router. Okay, which is a very important device. The router is something that helps you connect to uh, to the other network. Okay, for example, let's say you had an office one. Okay, which you will we let's call it LAN one. Okay, and let's say you had a LAN two as an office. Okay, so maybe like these are two different offices which are like connected to like in the different parts of the city, or maybe something like that, or maybe in different buildings. You may want to connect them together, and when you do so, you will probably use a router. Okay, considering of course that these are on two different networks. Okay, and then yeah, I mean of course these will be connected to the router, and the router will help these be connected together using its interfaces, right? Essentially, when you do that, it is also referred to as the gateway. Okay, meaning the routers are something that you can use as gateways. Now gateways simply mean that they are the gateway to another network. For example, even in our example, as you can see, this device that I listed as the router in between the LAN 1 and LAN 2, this is a gateway to reach the other network, right? Hence, these are called as gateways. Gateways are generally routers, and these are used to connect you to some other network. For example, even in your home, right? For example, right now you are sitting in your home, and you have your laptop maybe, or maybe your smartphone. I don't know how you're accessing maybe the maybe this meeting, but you have all these connected, and you have your probably your Wi-Fi router, as you call it. By the way, actually it's called the access point technically, but yeah, that's how it is connected to your router, right? And your router then connects you to the ISP actually, and the ISP then connects you to the internet, right? That is how it is actually happening, and that is how you are actually connected to this meeting, right? But yeah, in any case, this gateway of yours that you see in your home, okay, is the gateway, that router of yours, okay, which looks probably something like this, okay, is essentially your gateway. Why gateway? Because it is the gateway that helps you connect to the internet, right? So it is technically referred to as the gateway, and it has some other nuances as well. Okay, so uh, up next, this is probably like a kind of a schematic diagram of how would you have an office setup. Okay, like let's say like if you were to ask me like how does what is the actual setup in an office basically looks like. Okay, so this is a proper office setup that a network engineer would set up, or like design. Okay, so you see these are called as end devices. Okay, so you, let's say, have a Windows PC, or you have a Mac. Okay, or you have your Linux desktops. Okay, so these are called as end devices. Of course, these very well could be your smartphones, you know, uh, maybe of course even your laptops and stuff. Again, all of these are end devices. These are just referred to as end devices, and you see that in the case of wired network. Okay, as you can see, all of these are connected to the switch. Okay, as you can like we just discussed in the previous slide, the switch is something that helps you connect with your end devices, right? As you can see, like it is connecting this Macintosh and this Windows machine and this Linux device to the switch. Now, you cannot certainly directly connect mobile devices in a way like wireless devices. You cannot connect wireless devices directly to the switch, correct? You cannot do that. What you need is something called as the wireless access point. Okay, now wireless access point actually is another device category. What this wireless access point, or the WAP sometimes as it is called, what it does is it allows you to connect devices wirelessly. Okay, meaning what you can do is you can connect wireless devices to a wireless access point. So wireless access point essentially does two things. As you can see on one side, it is connected to a wired network. Okay, meaning it converts a wired network to a wireless network. As you can see, like it is connected to the switch on one side, correct? And on the other side, this wireless access point is converting all those wired connections into a wireless connection, so that your phone, your laptop, all of these things can connect. By the way, this is the device that you have at your home. That device that looks something like this, like we saw in the previous slide, if you remember, this thing that you call generally as the router. Actually, technically, I mean, like that's a wireless access point, in fact, at your home. I mean, it is a router. Certainly, of course, it is a router. But for like ease of understanding, it is just called a router, but essentially it is also a wireless access point that you see at your home. So as you can see, like even at your home, what does it do? Okay, on one end, it it has this wire coming in from uh, uh, the ISP, right? Whatever your ISP is, from that ISP, there's a wire coming in which goes inside your WAN port, correct? WAN WAN. And from this wireless access point, how do you connect? You can, of course, use cables, but then through wireless, you can connect your laptops then, right? So essentially, this is a wireless like access point. Okay, and as you can see, even in this diagram, this wireless access point, what it is doing is it is helping the mobile devices connect to the network, right? So as you can see, the wireless access point is now connected to the switch, and can you see that the switch now, okay, is connected then to a router. Okay, this is the router, right? Of course, you can also have an IP phone, by the way, and you have a voice router. Let's not go into like too many details. That's okay. Let's just keep it to the switch. Okay, so you can see that there's a switch, and the switch then connects upstream to a router. Okay, now router generally would connect you to the internet. Okay, but then of course when you're doing so, this is the outside network as it is called, right? The internet is the outside network, and by default it is something that you cannot trust. Okay, it is a non-trusted network. You cannot trust it. Why? Because they can be. It's a public network, right? Internet. When you talk about the internet is a public network, and it is not something that you can like trust. Never you can trust the internet, because there may be like malicious users and who can take advantage of your network and like stuff. So what do? Is you have a firewall installed. Okay, like beyond between the internet and your network, which is where this like the broadband network router starts, right? Essentially, like all the internal office structure, okay, that is the inside network, as we call it. Inside network is your own office structure, right? Anything outside of it is called as the outside network, in this case the internet, for example. So in between, what you do is you connect a firewall, right? Essentially, a firewall is a device which filters traffic, right? So it's again a category of device, and what it will do is it will filter out the traffic. Okay, meaning like current firewalls, today firewalls that you use are basically called as the next generation firewalls. Now, these next generation firewalls are very intelligent, very like they have their machine learning and AI stuff also sometimes built into it, and they can understand the traffic, and they can understand when somebody is trying to hack you, or maybe there is some malicious traffic that is coming in, if there's a virus that is coming in, and it can block those things, of course, based on the things that you have configured, right? So configuring firewalls and maintaining network security, that again is a part of the networking industry. It is it's like a subsection. It's the network security, right? So to understand network security, of course, first you have to learn networking in general. Okay, so yeah, but that then again, like network security is a part of the networking industry itself, right? But do understand that to understand network security, you have to first understand basic networking. Okay, like you have to understand networking, and then you make your next step to the networking security part, where you understand how to deal with firewalls and what firewalls can do, and there are different things that the firewall does. Okay, like VPN connections and all of that. All of those things are something that you do under network security. Okay, and firewall, of course, is a major category. uh, you know, uh, uh, like how things work there. Okay. This diagram then, so if you've understood like how basic office is set up. Okay, this is what it looks like. Okay, I hope you just followed the thing, although right now it looks a little messy, but yeah, I kind of hope you understood the entire concept. Uh, Again, the internet at large, okay, works with something like this. Okay, so what you see is, this is like a simplified diagram, of course, to make you understand this entire thing. But let's say you are a user. Okay, at the end maybe you're using your smartphone or your laptop, or something like that. Okay, and as you can now imagine, you will be connected first to a wireless access point or maybe something like a switch, right? This switch will then be connected to the gateway router, or this could be a wireless access point as well, as you now know, right? And as you can see, then you like have a modem, and then you are connected to the local ISP. Okay, ISP of course stands for Internet Service Provider, by the way, just in case, and it has its own DNS structure. Okay, now what is DNS, by the way? DNS is domain name system. Okay, DNS stands for domain name system, and what this essentially does, it is a mapping. Okay, it has something called as records. By the way, there are like approximately 30-35 types of records, by the way. I mean, like, it's a huge thing in itself, but as of now, let's just understand the basics of DNS. So DNS essentially is it has those records which help you map something. So what is this mapping all about? So mapping is about the domain name to the IP address. Okay, now what does this mean? What this means is, see, as humans, we are not really uh, good at remembering numbers. Okay, of course we aren't. For example, if I were to ask you how many phone numbers do you remember of your friends or family members, probably not even one, or maybe like your maybe a close friend, or like maybe some sibling, or maybe your parents, maybe numbers, probably. And that too because you have been probably using it for a very long time. Otherwise you would probably not remember any of the numbers, phone numbers, right? But you remember the names very efficiently. Okay, so that is how like human brain works. Not sure why that is, but that is how it is. Similarly, uh, you don't remember like IP addresses, right? Every device of course has an IP address on the network. Google, for example, let's say like this user that we were earlier discussing. Okay, maybe this user wants to reach out to google.com. Now like google.com, fine, you can remember the name google.com, so that's basically called as the domain name. However, you don't remember the IP address of it, right? You don't remember Google's IP address. And of course, it keeps on changing as well. It's a dynamic thing that they do for security, like stuff. But even if it were not, how many IP addresses would you remember? Can you remember it like for Microsoft and like things? And like these are not easy numbers, right? They are like IP address is a huge thing. So what do? So you use something called as DNS, which translates domain names to IP addresses, meaning when you say google.com on your browser, okay, and you say enter, okay, it is converted to an IP. I'll show you an example, by the way. If we have time still pending like the end of the lecture, I'll show you like how this works. But so google.com, I type it in my browser, or wherever. This has to be converted into IP address so that I can reach it, because it's just a name, right? And names are not what the system works on. It is always some number. Phone numbers are, for example, what we work with as phone numbers, right? Not the actual name. You can save it by any name in your phone as you want to, but finally it is the number. Similarly, the networking industry, the entire thing works on IP addresses. But yeah, I mean, you cannot remember IP addresses. You have like hundreds and billions of websites. Of course, what are you supposed to do? Remember like IP addresses? Of course not. So you have names, and these names are converted first to IP addresses by something called as the DNS. Right, so that is what you see here. Your local ISP will have this. You can have even public DNS servers. Okay, for example, I don't know if you've ever configured a DNS server, but a very famous public DNS server is 8.8.8.8. That's a Google public DNS server, and you can use it in case your DNS server fails. But yeah, of course, you have to have your networking working. But yeah, whatever it is, whatever DNS server you use, that DNS server is going to translate domain names into IP addresses. Then so like the as soon as you hit enter, you say google.com and you say enter, and first of all what happens is a query is quickly sent to the DNS server, and the DNS server responds back saying like this is the IP address that you need to reach out to, meaning this translation is done. and then you go ahead and try to reach that IP address which is resolved by the DNS. Imagine all of this happening like under a second. It takes like a microsecond, a millisecond, by the way, just to do all of this. Uh, so yeah, so kind of mind-boggling, but that is what is happening, right? So you reach all the way from your local maybe ISP to the regional ISP, and there is the global set of routers, public internet routers, and they will find a way to reach Google's data center, right? And you are able to view you like google.com, okay, as a website. All of this process happens, of course, as mind-boggling speeds, probably under like milliseconds. You can see the page, right? Like that's how fast this entire thing is. But yeah, as you can see, right, on one side you have Google, the other side you are sitting in some other side of the world. All of this that you see in the middle is managed by networking, right? The networking industry. uh, yeah, rightly said, right? Like we discussed earlier, we are the backbone, as real as it can be, of the world as we know it right now, right? Without all of this, imagine the center thing just not there. Of course, you will not be able to experience the world as you do right now, right? Yeah, needless to say, right? Yeah, that's essentially what it is, right? And of course, we are simplifying things a lot here. There are a lot of nuances and things. For example, you see something called as a NAT, which plays a very crucial role. We will not go into like too many technical details. I don't want to make this like a very technical, boring lecture for you. The core thing is that you need to understand why networking is there, and of course, you learn things as you go forward when you take up this as an industry, and you find it that it's as real as it can be and as interesting as it can be. All right. This again is a kind of a detailed diagram of what just we saw. Right. It's kind of the earlier thing was a simplified thing, and this is more of a little more detailed diagram, just so that because you now know have a better understanding. So you can see again, you have something called as a local area network at your end, and you have those devices, right, which are connected to the switch. Correct. And the switch then connects may probably to a modem, and you have a router, right? And you have your ISP here, as you can see. Okay, and the ISP, of course, has its own network, right? As you understand, like at every level, there are these networking devices. Okay, for example, when you imagine, let's say you are accessing some cloud service, okay, of some data center, maybe like Google's thing. As you can imagine, Google, of course, has its own networking stuff going on, right? It has, of course, its routers, and it has its own switch on its sides and switches, and it has a bunch of servers, and or its database and application servers and whatnot. Okay, so at the ISP level as well, for example, it has its own network, and this is how the entire thing basically works, right? For example, as you can see, we spoke about the DNS, right? As soon as some client wants to reach, let's say, like google.com, right? First of all, it will be queried for the DNS, right? Because it needs the IP address first. So yeah, I mean, the query will first go to the ISP's DNS, and where it will be like resolved. Okay, so the ISP has its own DNS server. If it is not resolved, then it will be looked for the actual domain name system of the public DNS, right? But first it will be looked into the local ISP's DNS server, right, which will try to translate the IP address, okay, the name into the IP address, and that is how this entire thing works. So, of course, the internet, as you can see, again, is made up of like a bunch of routers, and you can have some other networks on the other side, which is outlined here as the internet. And this is how the entire world sort of works. Okay, like again, this is like a simplified diagram of the entire thing, just to make you understand how this entire world of our currently uh, works and how is it sort of made up of, right? So yeah, that is what networking essentially is. And let me show you like a quick demo, okay, of what is it that the actual you know, like what happens when you actually work with. Just give me a second. I'll just share my screen back again. By the way, let me just open up a quick software, and we'll discuss some misconceptions that people have, and like bunch of things like that. Just give me a second. The software is kind of opening. All right. So it has opened. Let me share my screen back again. I have shared my screen. I hope you guys can also see it. So this is something which is called as a Cisco Packet Tracer. And Cisco Packet Tracer essentially is a software which helps you simulate devices, right? Networking devices. For example, you see like a bunch of routers here, right? So I'll just quickly grab to one of the routers. Okay. And I just want you to have a feel of what this industry is all about. So you have this router, right? And if you were to go to this command line interface, by the way, it's not always this. You can have GUI based stuff, meaning graphical user interfaces as well. But this is what the average like network uh, professional does. Okay, they have to work with routers and devices, and the way they do is using a console system like this. They can put in commands, okay, and you can manage the devices and put IP addresses to interfaces, and manage the router. Now, a misconception, however, somehow I'm not sure how have people got it, but a misconception is that network engineers are some people who go on go on in houses and I don't know, they connect cables and like stuff. I don't know where people have got it, by the way. That's not true. Okay, that is essentially not true. A network engineer, a decent network engineer, I mean, with a properly trained like a personnel, of course, doesn't deal with all that things. In fact, what you have to do is design networks, as we just saw in some previous slides, and you manage devices like so, as the console that you see on the screen. Just a quick example. I'm just gonna, like, let's say, like, I want to configure the interface, let's say, which is faster than a 0/0. Right now, I know this is not gonna make sense to you, because this has, I mean, of course, you have to go through a lot of training and stuff to understand like what this is all about, which we'll discuss in a while. Just a second. But just saying, like, this is how, let's say I just want to give this IP address, let's say 10.0.0.1, and I just wanted to let you know what the actual like thing is all about. So what, as network engineers, you do is you basically will be taking some router on a remote session, sitting in your office, and yeah, you basically configure routers, and you can also configure switches in a very similar way. Okay, so just like the router, if I can have a switch here, this is a switch, by the way, and you see that it has a similar console. By the way, of course, all of these are Cisco devices, right? Cisco, of course, is a major player in the networking industry. Okay, we'll just talk about that also in a while. Okay, coming back to like the PPT. Okay, let me just. I hope you can see the screen back again. Okay, and let me come back to the PPT. Okay, so okay, now where does certification play a role in all of this? Okay, see, first of all, certifications, whenever you do it, okay, they help you gain a competitive advantage. Okay. The very first thing is that you have a competitive advantage over your competitors, meaning you go for an interview, somebody who does not have a certification versus somebody who does. Of course, the person who has the certificate, uh, they have a better choice, right? And they will be selected for the interview. Apart from this, when you, of course, have the certification, that simply means that you have trained for it and you have an increased efficiency. All right. I mean, of course, you are better at the job, right? And hence, of course, that is why people, employers, I mean, look for certified people. Okay. Now, it also increases your earning potential. Obviously, when you have certifications, you can look for better paying jobs. The sky's the limit, basically, depending on what certifications you opt for. And you can really opt for good certifications, and you can certainly demand a very high paying package, right? So competitive advantage, increased efficiency, greater earning potential, and of course, as a whole, you have a better professional credibility. Okay, that is why people do certifications, as simple as this. So certifications are something which is kind of as in like various industries. Of course, networking industry also has various certifications, and you can opt for them, and you can work with them. A very important thing, however, with the networking industry, however, let me just tell you, is certification. While the actual certification of course holds very very great importance, I of course cannot emphasize more on that. I mean, the actual certification certainly uh, is a great reward in itself. Okay, and it will be a very rewarding career once you have the certification for the networking industry, whatever certifications you have. However, uh, a huge percentage of the networking industry has people who are trained for certifications, but they don't actually have the certification. Okay, I hope you understand what I meant. Meaning, for example, a very important certification is CCNA. Let's say I'll explain the CCNA thing in a while, but bear with me for the moment. Let's say like you did not get the actual certification, okay, but you trained for it. Okay, meaning you appeared for a training for CCNA certifications. That very well can land you with a job. Okay, even this works for non-tech people. Okay, meaning like people who are not from technical background, meaning they are not from like some BSc or engineering course, even they go for CCNA trainings and they get a better job. Imagine people with tech backgrounds. Obviously, they can easily land jobs just with the training part, meaning they can do the certification later. It will not serve as a barrier. Okay, even if you are trained on CCNA, for example, we'll discuss CCNA, no worries, in a while. But just saying, even if you're trained for something like CCNA, still you'll get a job. Okay, like easily like easily sustain yourself in the industry with a very good pay package and stuff. The certification itself, uh, like may not be required, but the training, of course, the training has to be, because of course at the end of the day, you as a person who has undergone training, right? Of course, like how will the employer know? So they will of course be uh, uh, like uh, uh, like you will be going through interviews, right, where you have to prove your worth, and you should of course have to tell them that of course you have understood the training and you can work with devices such as switches and routers and how this works. Now once this is in place, yeah, I mean, there is a whole sky's the limit, right? There's a whole industry waiting for you, right? So like I said, one important certification that we certainly want to talk about is the CCNA. So CCNA is the like it stands for Cisco's Certified Networking Associate, and this is an associate level certificate. Okay, now Cisco, why Cisco? So every industry has uh, they are dominant players, correct? For example, if you look into the PC market, right, there you have Microsoft and its Windows products, right? So you have Microsoft and like Windows as a major player, correct? For example, in the mobile phone market, you have like Android, okay, which is like a huge player. Similarly, in the networking industry, you have Cisco. Okay, Cisco is a huge player. You have all the gold standard devices from Cisco, meaning let's say if you want to build up your network, and which is the best router you can get, it is like a Cisco router. Okay, so now this Cisco, what they basically do is they have their own certification examinations. Okay, for example, an associate level certification is CCNA, and once you are done with that, you can opt for something called a CCNP. Okay, well, CCNP also has two levels, which are N core and then an NRC. Each level, of course, as you like go ahead, you prove yourself that you are worth more. Okay, I mean, of course, as you go on taking more and more certifications, uh, your pay package of course increases, your level that you work at, okay, like in the industry, of course it goes on increasing. You work as higher level engineers, and you get to do work on like very complicated stuff and things like that. And at the end of all of this, there is the most prestigious certificate that you can have, which is CCIE, right? So, like Cisco has this these levels of certifications, if you will call it. Okay, so initially there is CCNA, then there is CCNP and core and NRC, and then there is at the very end there is CCI, which is like the most prestigious thing that you can have. I mean, sky's the limit when it comes to pay packages for CCI people. Okay, and yeah, like that is how you prove your worth by gaining certifications. But like I said, even if not the actual certification that you take from Cisco, the trainings are more than sufficient to land you a job. Now, let's understand why is this the case. Okay, see, traditionally with um, it's not even here, India. Okay, like even abroad, you don't have really uh, because of course this is like a brand thing. CCNA, of course, is a brand thing, right? Meaning it's from the Cisco brand. Hence, like CCNA and stuff is not taught in schools and colleges, and you don't see them in graduate studies. And of course, so at the end of the day, people graduating from college and stuff, they generally, of course, cannot work on routers and stuff, right? You cannot work on routers, you cannot work on switches. So that gap is always there. Okay, that gap in the industry is always there. And even abroad and in India, people, of course, after their graduation course and stuff, and if they decide to come into the networking industry, what they do is they appear for trainings. Okay, even like I said, if they don't want to go for the actual certification, they will go for the training part, and they will undergo this training. And by the way, the training, of course, is not a it's not some year long training. It's just a month of training. Okay, like CCN, you can just learn in a month. For tech people, it's all the more easier. Even non-tech people can grasp all these concepts very easily. By the way, but yeah, I mean, like it just takes a month. Okay, all of these courses like take 1 month individually. For example, you want to do CCNA, it is 1 month. CCNP, it is like close to 1 month again, and so on and so forth. Of course, CCI will be a little extended depending on what you are looking for. Uh, but yeah, in core is like 1 month, NRC is 1 month, and next so on and so forth. So these are not some humongously demanding courses. Once you decide to put in your effort, it's kind of easily done. Okay, so yeah, so once a person was completed, their studies and stuff, and they opt for a training for a month or so, and they can easily land very good jobs in the networking industry. Okay, so that is how that is how it works. So if you were to ask me if there are any prerequisites, honestly, there is none. There is none actually. I mean, yeah, I mean, it will be a plus if you are a graduate. I mean, of course, if you are a graduate, certainly it does help. And I will, of course, always say that you should complete your graduate studies and then, pursue those like the courses. So yeah, I mean, like you have to be a graduate and you can pursue the course. There are no particular requirements or a prerequisite of any kind. By the way, you could be anybody. Maybe you are an enthusiast. Okay, who wants to know about the networking industry. Maybe you're a professional. Okay, and there's a wide audience of people who want to do this course and the training. Okay, so yeah, you could be maybe who wants you are somebody who's already in the networking industry and you want to upgrade. So there can be different profiles of people. Whoever it is, they can opt for the training and the course and the certification. The content of the course looks something like this, right? So this is from the Cisco's official website itself. As you can see, network fundamentals is like the weightage of 20%, and network access is 20%. You have IP connectivity, which is 25%. IP services, which are like add-on services in the networking stuff, is 10%. You have some security fundamentals, which you can see is 15%. And you have now in the new CCNA, what you have is some part of automation, but this is just introduction. Okay, this is just introduction, and that is some 10%. Anyway, all of this aside, the CCNA course focuses on like routing and switching. Okay, and then there is of course some part of security. Like I'm just putting it in like very simple language. Okay, so you have majorly routing and switching. Then you have security, and then you have some bits of IP services and things like that. The CCNA certification itself, the cost is about $300. Okay, and the duration is about 120 minutes. And currently, what you have is the CCNA version, which is mapped to 200.301, and it is 1.1. That's the official like thing. Okay, that's for the official global certification, as it is called, right? Cisco Certified Network Associate, CCNA. Right, as you can see, this it is saying that it tests you on network fundamentals, network access, and you basically do this directly from Cisco. And once you pass the exam, you will be awarded a CCNA certificate, right? Which of course you can display on your resume, and certainly you will land better jobs. Okay. I mean, of course, in India, it just begins at like more than 3 lakhs and stuff, depending on like what your profile is and what your training is and like stuff. And these are different packages that you get in different countries once you have the CCNA package. So around 50 to 90 K in like USA, UK, it is 25 to 40 pounds, 1,000 pounds, of course. Right. Australia, it is 70,000 to 100,000. Right. Depends on the country that you are in. What are your expertise? Okay, how well you do the interview, how well you negotiate. Of course, these numbers are like the average median salaries, right? That you essentially get, right? And yeah, the market keeps on evolving, right? You now with the networks that are coming in, you need more advanced networking skills. You have cloud, everything is moving onto the cloud. Even the enterprises are moving on the cloud. It's not just you and me who are using, let's say, like some Google Drive or stuff to store things. No, even the enterprise, uh, probably you have it in the course as well, your graduate courses. Okay, maybe you have a hint of what cloud computing is. You have various flavors of cloud computing. Of course, all of this essentially, like, it works on networks, right? So the cloud is a major player now in the thing, and cloud networking expertise are required. And as you can imagine, everything, since it is moving onto the cloud and stuff, there is a greater risk of cyber attacks, right? And there is a greater need for cyber security mechanisms and things like that. So the demand is ever increasing for people in the networking industry, whether it be demand for network, like advanced networking skills, maybe it is for cloud networking, or maybe like cyber security, or in general network security. Okay. As you can also understand, remote work has like come into picture a great lot, right? So yeah, people have moved, or many companies have a work from home thing now. And how are you going to support those people? Okay, of course, through networking, right? I mean, they have to be connected to the internet, they have to be working. And of course, now, as we have discussed earlier as well, now with even networking, you have AI and automation coming in. So it helps the network engineers automate stuff a lot. Okay, it can automate things a lot. It can make tasks easier. It can push a lot of configuration on a lot of devices at the same time. That is where automation and AI also comes in. So the market is uh, ever evolving. Okay, and it is demanding more and more engineers, more and more security professionals, and there is a huge scope of betterment of careers in this field. Okay, so this is what I wanted you guys to understand. Hope this has been in some way beneficial to your understanding in terms of career prospects in networking industry and network industry in general. Okay, I just wanted to make you understand that this is an amazing industry out there, and as real as it can be. In fact, it is the industry through which, because of which, we are able to communicate right now. Okay, you are in a probably in a different site. I am calling from the comfort of my home, right? So yeah, I mean, like, this is possible because of networking, right? So I hope this has been beneficial to you in some way. This is where I would want to close off the thing. And yeah, that's uh, this is what it was all about, right? So yeah, this is where we'll stop. And I'll hand it over to Kunal at your end.